We were on the border throughout this week. We were also in the towns of Goris and Vaik. These are two of the main registration points for refugees coming from Nagorno-Karabakh. And as you said, thousands of refugees continue to come in, and the number of arrivals are increasing by the hour, but the humanitarian situation remains critical. These displaced families are coming after over 30 hours of travelling, of stuck in traffic jams in the Lachen corridor. They're carrying their lives in their cars with them. But when they arrive, yes, they are receiving humanitarian aid. Yes, they are being registered. But the main issue remains is that there's not enough accommodation for them. There are not enough places that can provide shelter. And this is the biggest problem. And of course, these families are coming. They're feeling very lost, confused. A lot of them have no plan of what to do next. And so they're coming and they're kind of expecting to be given, for someone to help them, but they end up sleeping in the streets, sleeping in their cars because the hotels are fully booked. There are the shelters, the schools that were giving them a temporary place to stay are also crammed. Now authorities are trying to find solutions. They've started sending refugees after being registered to other towns in the region, such as Vaik and Goris. Some are going to Yerevan if they're lucky enough to have family members there, but the issue remains the same. And yesterday in Goris, we saw hundreds of families just sitting outside with all their belongings. These were the ones who were dropped off by bus, and they didn't know where they were going to sleep tonight. And we've also seen families coming in their tractors, their belongings just hanging on the side of the road. So you're really getting the sense that there was sheer panic. They just grabbed what they could, grabbed any vehicle they had, and just made their way to Armenia. But now that we've come back to Yerevan, I can tell you here the city's very quiet. This time last week, there were hundreds of protesters on the main square of Yerevan trying to push Prime Minister Pashinyan to resign. The focus has now shifted to helping the displaced families. So a lot of the protesters we met last week, we actually met them again. We bumped into them in Goris and Vaik because they had taken days off work and come down to help with humanitarian aid. So there's a very strong sense of solidarity. Teenagers are not going to school. They're skipping school to hand out food and blankets. Adults are local families are taking refugees into their homes. So everyone's pulling their weight. But the problem remains the same. We are almost at 100,000 refugees crossing into Armenia. And is the country ready to take them in? We simply don't know. And that is the main issue that authorities will try to figure out.